I'm not a huge fan of speed ramps. I don't think there's anything wrong with them, but I don't like them personally too much for my work. However, there is appropriate times when I do use them for some of the videos that I make. And today I want to show you how I do those. Now the reason I'm making this video is because from time to time I'll see people creating these videos and their speed ramps are really choppy and they just look kind of bad. I wanted to show you today how I create smooth speed ramps. Before we get into it, please make sure you subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. Now I'm not saying you have to do this. It's more of a personal preference thing. I personally like it when the speed ramps are nice and smooth because it just looks better in my opinion. So wanted to show you how I do that. Normally I'll do this in Resolve, Premiere, and Final Cut, but today I'm only going to do this in Resolve. Just know that you can do the same exact things in both Final Cut and Premiere. I'm just not doing them today because I don't want to make this a super long video. Alright, so before I go too far into this, I want to be sure to tell you about our course, The Art of Real Estate Cinematography. If you're like me and you are struggling with the way your videos are turning out and you're just not super happy with them, this course is something you're going to want to check out. Now, I made this course with the help of Nick Swartzendruber, who's arguably one of the top real estate filmmakers in the country. And I basically reached out to him and I said, hey, would you be interested in me filming you and just answering all the questions that I possibly have and showing me how you work? And he said yes. So the result of that is over 8 hours of content and over 80 videos teaching you everything he knows about making real estate films. So it's worth at least giving a look. We actually have a free video on the top 10 things that I personally learned while making this course. You can check it out at the link in the description. Now, before I go onto the screen, I just want to talk a little bit about speed ramping in general and how I pull this off. So I don't decide after the fact that I want to add a speed ramp. I mean, I will from time to time, but it's very rare. Usually I know on location if I'm going to be using a speed ramp and I'll film accordingly. Now the way I film a speed ramp is I kind of do a speed ramp on location in person. So I'll have my gimbal and I'll start off kind of slow, I'll speed up midway through and then I'll slow down toward the end. So I'm kind of doing a handheld speed ramp. Now it looks really bad in person as you'll see, but it really does help when you're smoothing out the ramp. And I'll show you how that works. I have two different clips here. One of them, I did not do it toward the beginning, but I did do it a little bit toward the end, but it was still kind of rough. And the second one, I did a fairly good job. I started off pretty slow, sped it up, and slowed down as I got toward the end. So let's go to the computer, I'll show you these two clips. All right, so the first one, this is the one I was saying that I did, and it wasn't really that smooth at the beginning, but toward the end I kind of smoothed it out a little bit. So let's just play it like normal and I'll show you. And I start slowing down right here. Okay? So as you can see, it was kind of even throughout the whole thing, and then at the end I kind of slowed down a little bit. On the second clip, you'll see I start off pretty slow, and then I speed up, and then I slow down toward the end. Let's go ahead and watch it. Slow, I'm gonna start to speed up now. I'm gonna start slowing down again. Okay, so hopefully that was obvious what I was doing there. So I'm kind of doing a real-time speed ramp on location with my gimbal. I didn't do anything to the footage here except for stabilize it. So that's the first thing that I do. The second thing that I suggest doing with speed ramps is make sure you're doing it with longer clips. If you could, I would avoid doing speed ramps on shorter clips. So let me demonstrate how I actually edit the speed ramp in Resolve, and again, you can do the same thing in Premiere, just it's slightly different, and the same thing in Final Cut as well. A lot of the times what you'll see, and I'm going to do a really bad example, but this is kind of what I was talking about with the choppy. It's either people don't know how to speed ramp or they just don't consider the curves, but it's almost like people do this. I'm just going to do a quick retime right here. It's almost like this is what people do. Okay, I'm sure you've seen that. Now, I guess that's technically a speed ramp, but it's not a ramp because a ramp suggests you're kind of going up. You know what I mean? A ramp is either a straight jag like this or it's a smooth whatever. That's what a ramp is. This is more of like a it just doesn't look right, okay? So let's undo that because that's not how we want to do a speed ramp. In Resolve, what you'll do is you'll right click and you'll do retime curve. And yeah, I wish they had an easier way to access this, but they don't, as far as I know. Click on this little drop down here where it says retime frame, and go down here and uncheck retime frame and check retime speed, okay? As you are preparing to do your speed ramp, you want to kind of lead into it. Again, think of a ramp. You don't just like hit the ground running on a ramp. You ride up to a ramp and then you go up, and it's kind of a gradual go. You have to lead into it. You can't just jump right into it. So you want to give it a little bit of a lead. And what I like to tell people is like look for when the angle starts to kind of curve a little bit. Like right here, you can see it's somewhat straight, and then all of a sudden it starts to curve right there. And that's probably a good spot to start your speed ramp. So in Resolve, you hold down Option and click on this little dot here, or this little line here, and you'll add a dot, a keyframe really, and it says retime speed. Okay, you're gonna do the same thing on the end. So look for a spot where it starts to slow down. Right about there is a good spot, like right before it starts to slow down, maybe right there. Okay, so now we have a beginning keyframe and an ending keyframe, and in between is where our ramp is going to be, okay? So in Resolve, all you simply do is just click on this middle line and just drag up, and you'll see it kind of creates this is an indication of how fast it's going. You can see 237%. So if we do this is exactly what happened when I did that really bad example. Now, if you need more than that, you can see by default it only goes with 300. You can just go to this 300% right here and just drag as far as you want. And you can just increase this even more, which is really nice. So we'll just go up to like 400%. Okay, and again, there's a really bad example of one of those bad speed ramps, okay? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and smooth this thing out, okay? I'm gonna bring this down a little bit so I have can see this a little better. All right, so what we do is we click on these dots here, these keyframes, and you see these little, this is the type of ramp, I guess, that you can select. So I'm gonna select this one, and you can see it adds a little ramp for me, right? See how it smooths it out? So it's this versus this, okay? Click on this one over here, do the same thing. And what happens is it gives me a smoother starting and ending point, okay? Now, it's still not as smooth as I'd like it. I would actually like it to be a little smoother. And in Resolve, what you can do is click on one of these little handles here and drag it out, and you can see the ramp is starting to smooth out more. You can do the same thing on this. And as you can see, it gives you just a much smoother ramp. Okay? So we're just going to see what this looks like. Okay, so you can see it's so much smoother, okay? Let's move on to the next clip and I'll kind of show you. Now, if you remember correctly, this one, I'm going to play it back one more time. I kind of did a manual speed ramp. Slow. Starts to speed up. It's going to start to slow down about right here. Okay, so I think it's pretty obvious where our starting and ending keyframes are going to be. So we're going to right click, retime curve, come down here, retime speed. And let's just find those spots again. So right about, let's watch. Right about here is where it starts to speed up. And I'm probably going to bring it back a little bit to about right here. Hold down Option, click the line, and we're going to find our endpoint, probably about right there. Because I want it to be before it starts slowing down, okay? So again, we'll go ahead and bring this up to about, I don't know, 400%. Okay, and again, choppy, looks really bad. So what do we want to do? We want to smooth it out. We're going to click that, Let's smooth these out a little bit. Okay, so a little better, still a little choppy. Here's a few things you can do here. Now with Resolve, I can't go any further because it runs into this point here. So what I could do technically is drag these out a little bit and give myself a longer ramp. Okay, and I can also just slow this down. And as you can see, that gives me a little bit of a smoother edit. So that's how I achieve smoother speed ramps. Again, I'm not saying that this is the way you need to be doing it. I'm just saying if you want to have a smoother speed ramp, this is how you do it. Again, it's going to be slightly different in both Premiere and Final Cut, but you can do the same exact things that you can in Resolve, okay? Please make sure you subscribe. I'd really appreciate it.